What's up, my bookish dweebs? So, I need to talk to you about what I read in October. I tell you why, because it's now the 10th of November, which is mental. I can't believe we're already in November and I've not bought anyone any Christmas presents. I've not really been saying the C word yet because I'm a little bit in denial that it's coming up close. It's going to be my daughter's first Christmas, but she's only going to be about 6 months old, so it's not a big one. So next year's the big one. So do I need to worry or not? Please don't buy her too much. Whatever. Either way, I need to talk to you about the books I read in October. Spoiler alert, there wasn't a lot. My reading months at the moment are very on and very off for obvious reasons. I read 2 books in October, one of which, to be fair, was quite long. It just took me a long time to read. Different points in my kind of life and things that happen around my life in terms of my schedule, in terms of what I do, what I don't do, this sort of stuff, kind of affect that. I now have a Kobo, so I'm hoping that my reading will pick up a little bit because I can pick up the reading during times when I can't listen to audiobooks. For example, when I am rocking the baby or when I need to be quiet in a room or something like that. I know I've got headphones, but I do also want to be able to hear her at the same time, so now I can read on my Kobo, whereas I couldn't read in a dark room with a book. Either way, I need to talk to you about the 2 books that I've read in October. So I thought, well, that's not going to be a particularly long video. So I thought what I would do is I would then talk to you about some of the books I'm hoping to read in November / coming into December. Some of the upcoming books I'm hoping to read. There are 4 books I'm hoping to read in the next kind of month or so. 4 books I'm really excited to read. And then we'll see what else comes along. And then there's 2 that I'm kind of reading at the moment. There might be 3 that I'm hoping to read. And then there's 2 that I'm kind of reading at the moment. I don't know. We'll talk about them in some order. Either way, let's get into it because I'm now rambling. So the first book that I read in October was The Will of the Many. And I say the first book I read, the first book I finished, because I started reading it in the previous month. It was insane how long this took me. Did it take me a while for any particular reason? I don't think so. I think I just didn't pick it up that often. It is thick, I'm not going to lie. This is a 684-page book where the text is minuscule. We are talking tiny. So we're talking a lot of words here. There is a lot of words. But The Will of the Many is a really, really interesting concept. Basically, imagine a fantasy world that's not too fantasy. We're not talking big, scary, kind of crazy creatures and things like this. What we're talking more about is that the fact that everything is kind of controlled by will, which is your willpower, as it were. And different people's will is sucked from other people, kind of like that book I read about by Joanne J. Tsao called The Iron Widow, where will is sucked from other people. However, we have a hierarchy here, so they are literally numbered from the least powerful to the most powerful, and I think everybody starts off at a nothing and you earn yourself to the least powerful, and you can work your way up via kind of, I think, like a college system and politics and things like this to essentially suck more will off people, and there are people that give will to be able to do this. It's all very interesting. It's all very complicated and it's all very well done in terms of what they choose to use will for. For example, you have will keys, which is the more will you have, the different areas you can get into in secret societies, that sort of thing. Very clever. I like that one. What are our stories about? Our story is about, I don't think I've actually got a name on here, but it's basically about a young chap who attends an academy or is asked to attend an academy to get to the top class. The idea being that the bottom class is, I think you're supposed to do it in years, but he kind of skips through them because clearly he's got some talents. To get to the top, to then foil things, then kind of overthrow everything, and you know, that sort of general rebellion sort of arc. What is a bit different is the guy that we're talking about here has a very strong use of the will and the ability to use his will, and has been trained far beyond kind of his years, and he's got to kind of limit how much he shows of that to people, but also use enough of it to progress that he's being asked to do. And there's this big kind of, as I said, this rebellion aspect. I don't want to spoil too much of it without kind of giving away a lot of the plot, but rebellion, again, is a big part of it. And I say that in 2 caveats, and both in the way that's obvious in the book and a bit that's maybe not so obvious. So yeah, very interesting. I liked it. Good read, really, really well written. Sometimes it did feel a little bit long and it did feel a little bit slow. I think this first book is supposed to be a tad slow. The ending was fantastic. The middle was great building up and the start was fantastic. And as I said, the magic system, if we call it that, the will, is really, really well done. It's really cleverly done. It's used in the right way. It's not like everything is controlled by will. The elements that it kind of does well are this Brandon Sanderson effect, where there are rules, but people learn to kind of bend the rules using science. It'd be if we understood light now and how light works, but then in 100 years, scientists learned a way to control light. It's kind of like that. It's that if you know enough and if you learn enough, things will build and things will become creative. I've explained that poorly, but I hope you understand what I mean by that. Either way, that's basically what The Will of the Many by James Islington is. I don't know if I said any of the words. I hope I did. The title, the author. I'm a little bit out of practice with this, so give me a little bit of due. Anyway, that was the first book I read of the month. I'd probably give this a 4.25 or 4.5 out of 5. Let's go 4.5. I think it was a good book. It was a good, really good fancy book, one that really, really impressed me, one that really, really wanted to get me into the second book. I'm gonna have to wait for the second book to come out in paperback. I have a big problem with fancy books, not finishing them or even continuing the series, but I'm hoping I will pick that up at some point. Either way, that's The Will of the Many by James Islington, which was the first book I finished in October. And if you want to understand how kind of late I was finishing books, this is the 26th of October, was the first book I finished in October. So yeah, there we go. So then what I decided to do was pick up a really short book, and that is the Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. And that, therefore, was the second book that I finished in October. And it was a really, really quick read. We're talking a book here that is under 300 pages. The author's monologue at the end of the book is really interesting. Basically, he had an idea for a book during COVID, and he just really, really wasn't enjoying it. And he apparently is well known for his promises and kind of setting deadlines for himself and hitting them. And he had to, for the first time in his career, go off to his publisher and say, I'm not going to finish this book because I'm just not that into it. He then had this sudden idea for this just really fun, quick little book. And he's admitted in the back, he's like, this isn't going to win any awards. This is not going to be some sort of great book that you're going to think that's one of the greatest books I've ever read. But it's a really fun little thing. He said instead of kind of like a grand orchestra kind of piece of music, it's more of your fun little pop song with a catchy kind of chorus. And that's exactly what the Kaiju Preservation Society is. So the general premise here is that we have our main character, Jamie. He starts off in the world as something working for a food company, kind of think Uber Eats, that sort of thing, or Just Eat, anything like that. And then he tries to go to the CEO with some ideas, and the CEO says, unfortunately, you're fired. He takes his ideas, uses them, and then essentially sells the company. He's then working in this as a low part of the empire in this food company, so he wants to be more powerful, but instead he just becomes a delivery driver, which is like this unemployed 0 hours, you do your own work sort of job. Then he's thrust into this sudden world where there are kaijus. And the words Godzilla and things like this, and some of the big films that we all know and love, are mentioned in this book as kind of, yeah, this is where the idea for them came from. And it's very tongue-in-cheek. Take a lot of the science as you will, whether you do take it seriously, whether you don't take it seriously, but do not go into this thinking this is like possible. I know it's not possible, but just take it all with a very, very light pinch of salt, because that's what this book is. It's just a big light pinch of salt. It's good fun. It's not going to blow your mind. It will make you laugh at times. It will make you cringe at times. It will rush through some of the action parts. There's only like 2 bits in this book where things ramp up and there's big action moments, but there's also very, very few bits where it slows down to kind of just have a conversation between characters, which I'm absolutely fine with. It's fun, it's easy, and it's quick, and I have absolutely no qualms with that at all. So that's the Kaiju Preservation Society. That was the second book I finished in October, and yeah, it was good fun. I'd probably give this like a 4.25 out of 5 stars. So yeah, I'd recommend that if you're looking for something quick and easy and you like your sci-fi or your big monsters or anything like that. So yeah. So let's talk about the books that I am currently reading and hoping to possibly finish in the next few weeks. So the book I'm reading at the moment is Hunted by Abir Mukherjee. Now this is a book that I started a little while ago. I started probably a week or 2 ago. It's my November book pick of the month. So it's fine that I've not yet finished it because I only needed to finish it in November. So this was picked for me way back in January as a book that I should be reading in 2025. So far it's been about essentially kind of the point of view of people that are terrorists and the point of view of people that are trying to stop the terrorists, and their kind of different views and how they kind of accumulate this one event towards the end. I've hit the one event and I'm now about to hit the point where things are dying down and we're rounding things off. The reason there's not a bookmark in it is because I've actually been reading this on my Kobo recently. There's a different book cover on here, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but I've been reading it on my Kobo, so that's why there's no book cover in this or bookmark in this. It's been good. It's not blown my mind. I think if you're into your action and you're into your police and you're into your big terrorist moments happening and kind of that sort of thing, this is really interesting. And I know that is quite a big genre for people, the idea that they're big world-changing events happening. I think the T word in any sort of book or any sort of scenario kind of makes things quite exciting. So this has been exciting in that sense. It's not blown my mind. At times I've struggled to kind of pay attention. Reading it on the Kobo has made that a lot more easier for me to do. A lot easier for me to do. Yeah, that's Hunted by Abir Mukherjee. Expect to see that in my next month's roundup because I'm literally, I think, like 70 pages from finishing this. So then the next book I'm reading, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to probably see this because it's on a screen. Let me just turn the brightness right up. Is Frankenstein by Marie Wollstonecraft Shelley. Now, there's a lot of drama about Marie Shelley and her getting this, or Mary Shelley, apologies, not Marie. Mary Shelley and getting this published. I think during the times that she was getting this published, I think she had to get it published as a man, and now it has been revealed that she was a woman, and there was a period where she was referred to as Mrs. Shelley because people could only be somebody's wife, all this sort of stuff. The reason I've decided to pick it up is because there's a new Frankenstein film coming out, or I think is now out, by Guillermo del Toro. I hate saying that, Guillermo del Toro, I don't know. Either way, getting rave reviews from people that I have a lot of respect for, and thus I want to read the original book. Now, the original, I think, is one of those books I'm going to have to physically sit down and read because it's not a book I can listen to. It's very well written and very complicatedly written. It's more poetic. There's a lot of kind of metaphors in here. I think the big metaphor between Frankenstein is that he's a physical beast, but he's actually kind of like a nice person inside, that sort of thing. But I want to read this and then I want to watch the film because apparently the new film is the closest representation we've got of this. I think people like the idea of somebody creating a monster and the monster going on a rampage and people hunting it down for the wrong reasons, but they've never depicted it in the way that Mary Shelley has. So I want to read this. I think it's about 250 pages or so it shouldn't take me too long. I'm hoping to finish Frankenstein sometime. I can't believe I've not finished it. It's one of those books where you think you're a book reader, you're a book talker, tuber, Instagrammer, whatever, and you've not finished it. Do you call yourself a professional? I don't know. Either way, I'm now going to try and read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So if you've read that already, let me know. And I'm so excited for it to be the first book, proper book that I pick up on my Kobo alone. I don't have a physical copy of this at all. I probably will have to get a physical copy, you know, for the gram. So either way, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is a book I'm hoping to read this month. So there are two more books I'm hoping to read throughout November/December, and they are Not Another Bloody Christmas by Joe Middleton and Jenny Godfrey's The Barbecue at Number 9. Now, these are two books that I'm so excited to read. I read the first book of this last year, Happy Bloody Christmas, and it was one of the most festive books I've ever read ever in my life. And the reason is not because it was that festive, because there was loads of romance and snow and all this sort of crap, but because it was English. They were kind of playing board games in the middle of a day on a Wednesday because it was a couple of days before Christmas and they're on Christmas holidays, all this sort of stuff. So that's basically what got me into that one. And this is a sequel where I think the idea is Anna's taking the family away for Christmas. That way there'll be no risk of her burning the turkey, far less nagging from her mother-in-law. So they go on a holiday and the same instance happens. So even more Christmassy because you're off on holiday. It's going to be festive. There's going to be humor. There's a lot of dark humor in this as well. That's what I really enjoyed last year. It genuinely had me laughing out loud, the audiobook. So I'm definitely excited to pick this one up for Christmas. And I'm probably going to pick this up towards the end of November because it'll probably take me a week or two to finish. It's not a long book. We're talking another book here that is about 300 pages. So yeah, thank you so much to the publisher, by the way, for sending me this because I'm so excited to read this. And then, as I said, the other book is Jenny Godfrey's The Barbecue at Number 9. The List of Suspicious Things was one of my books of the year last year. It was Jenny Godfrey's debut novel. She took some really strong and powerful and brave approaches to that and took some big plot choices in that. And thus, when I was reached out to by the publisher and they said, she's got another book coming out, would you be interested? I said 100,000,010%. And that is The Barbecue at Number 9. And this sounds quite similar to the other in that there's not kind of one big plot moment that we're all waiting to happen, but there's a lot of kind of more lighter things happening. The general idea here is that it's the summer of 1985 and the residents of Delmont Close are preparing a neighborhood barbecue to watch the biggest music event in live history, Live Aid. And then basically it talks about some of the people that are at this barbecue and they have conversations and things come up about the neighborhood, and then there's some big reveal and all this kind of stuff, and it's that kind of drama around all of that which has me really excited. So that I'm really excited to read in November as well, along with Not Another Bloody Christmas. So let's hope I have a better reading month this month. I mean, it's the 10th and I have not yet read anything, so we'll see how that goes. I thought it worth mentioning as well, though technically not a read, and I haven't really even tracked it on my Goodreads or Storygraph or anything, but I am listening to the full cast edition of The Philosopher's Stone at the moment, Harry Potter, by J.K. Rowling. It came out, I think, like a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, and it's the only audiobook where I'll listen to it on 1.1. I'm doing time speed. I can't do 1 just because Hagrid speaks too slowly. But what it is it's a full cast, so it's not just Stephen Fry, who I will still listen to at some point because that is my favourite version still. It's not just one person. Every single character is a different individual. There are background noises. There's constantly things going on. So I've got a pair of AirPods and spatial audio. So Audible do this thing where if you've got all of that stuff going on, you can literally hear like it's around you. So you hear doors go off behind you, wands and brooms and things swish all around you, this sort of stuff. And that's always going on. So it feels more like an audio drama than an actual audiobook. So I just thought I'd mention that I am listening to that. I'm about halfway through that at the moment, or not halfway through. I've just hit the point where they're broomstick lessons and that sort of stuff. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that. So there are the books that I have read or I'm hoping to read in November. I'm hoping to have a much more productive month in November. We'll see. Hopefully the Kobo helps with that. Hopefully the fact I picked up Frankenstein, which is a bit of a shorter book, and hopefully the fact that I'm going to read some shorter books in general will help, and that I have a Kobo to help me read it. Either way, again, I finished the video as I started the video by rambling, but either way, let me know if you read any of these, let me know if you intend to read any of these, let me know if I've hyped any of these books up for you. Either way, if you're new here, subscribe. If you're old here, like and comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.